At first, the walls in Starfleet Academy feel kind of comforting. They're pretty, they're polished, full of wonder and history, full of subtle meaning. And these are walls where people learn. They hold classes, they're training spaces, memorials, monitors, all of it. They're not just walls, these are Starfleet walls, which means they come loaded with the kind of purpose that people expect from Star Trek. Knowledge lives inside of them, just as history lives inside of them, just as aspiration itself lives inside of them. These Starfleet Academy walls are where people come to become something better. And that is exactly why it gets creepy as all hell. The show starts with walls that build people, then slowly starts showing you that those same walls can also trap them. Caleb feels it almost right away. The Academy and its walls are supposed to feel like structure and belonging, but to him, almost immediately, it feels like a cage he has to escape from. Then by the end, that same basic idea gets scaled all the way up into the Omega-47 mine wall around the Federation. Can you say thank you, New Baraka? Really, thank you. Ugh. After that, it's not just one cadet feeling closed in, but it's an entire system of worlds. This shows the same idea but gives us a bigger panic. The show eventually gives us walls that are not just trapping people inside of them, but also they're hiding things. Episode 9, for example, does this really well. The walls that are hiding Anisha Mir, where she takes Caleb on Ukek, are protective for her, but they're also secretive. They contain information Anisha doesn't want people to know. Like where she is, what she has, what she's doing. She's using these walls to decide who gets to know what and when. The same idea with the Beta Z psionic wall. Sure, it protects an entire civilization, which sounds like an attempt on their end to be noble, if not a little paranoid, but it also keeps Caleb from finding his mother. So the Beta Z psionic wall is doing a couple of things at once. It's protecting themselves and hurting our protagonist. It's merciful and cruel, and it all depends on your perspective. And that's kind of where I think the walls start to feel a little less abstract and a little more horrible. Because if you think about it for just a second, there's horror here. And the horror comes from realizing that a wall can be sacred, it can be educational, and it can be protective, and it can be devastating. Even the visual framing of Caleb and Genesis in episode 1 fits into that with a certain almost translucent wall. It gives them a silhouette that highlights how drastically different they are, while still placing them in the same structure. These two are being shaped inside the same system, but not the same way. So even when the walls aren't literally trapping anyone, they're still defining people, displaying the stark contrast between them physically while presenting them in the same light. And then the USS Athena just rips the frickin' wig off, because in episode 10, the walls of the ship which should represent things like learning, legacy, and Federation ideals are trashed. They are defaced and turned into the backdrop of a fake trial. New Spraka, within the Athena walls, isn't nearly as concerned with justice as he is with propaganda in courtroom drag. These walls used to mean something noble. They used to help people build up themselves, and now they're being used to humiliate, to accuse, and to broadcast fear. And physically, these walls are covered in graffiti and they're barely recognizable anymore, and I think that's the point. The walls in Starfleet Academy keep evolving from places of knowledge into places of control. First, they teach, then they divide, then they hide. Then they protect by separating. Then finally, they become tools for spectacle and coercion. It keeps deepening. It mutates. By the end, the show is basically asking the most Star Trek question imaginable, with walls, if you can believe it. What happens when the structures that are supposed to uphold civilization start doing the exact opposite?